Hello, everybody. How's everyone doing? I need some energy, guys. Come on. Good. I'm a student at UC Berkeley, doing my MBA, so go Bears. So let's kick off with a panel introduction from our panelists, and we're going to do a fun audience poll, and then we're going to get into some of the topics. So this is going to be very engaging, so yeah, you're going to have some fun. We're going to start with a quick intro.
Okay, hey everybody, I'm Bill Allison, I'm Berkeley's Chief Technology Officer. People always say, what? Does the university have one of those? What does it do? Something different than an industry. A lot of what my job is to think about what the university needs to have in the future and how what we're doing with technology today could be better. And I think we can all agree that it can be better. And so today, the two biggest things that I'm focused on are one, finding ways to get computing capacity for the people inventing AI at Berkeley, because we're the number 2 or 3 institution in invention of AI. So there's a huge insatiable appetite for computing. We're doing a deal with NASA. Some of you have heard of the Berkeley Space Center. So the first piece of that is we're going to put data centers down there and get access to federal power, great stuff. The second thing is figuring out actually how to, we're number 2 or 3 at inventing AI, but we're not so great at using it. So a lot of my job today is how do we incorporate AI into the university's operations, and what is the strategy around that? So that's what I'm leading at Berkeley.
Hi, I'm Jin Wang. I'm from the AT&T's CTO organization. My daily job is like we connect about 100 terabytes of data every day. So we try to use that to monitor our network, to troubleshoot the customer service issues, and also use that data to facilitate the network automation. And our team, another role is like a front door for AT&T facing all the startups. I guess that's half the reason why I'm here today. Glad to be here.
Hey, I'm Jeremy Werner. Great to be here. So I lead one of the business units at Micron. Micron is one of the 5 largest semiconductor manufacturers in the world. Before that, I had joined 3 startups, or right around the A round. I never founded my own, like some of you in this room I'm sure have, but I have a lot of experience in both success and failure at startups. Failure is an important part of the journey as well. And in terms of what I do, leading the business unit, we're responsible for roughly $5 billion a year in sales of solid state drives, so and flash memory, which is probably in most of your pockets, hopefully, or maybe in your hand if you're
Awesome. Okay, so my name is Amrutha. I lead the go-to-market there is Asana. It's a B2B software project management company. Also, I'm doing my MBA, as I said. So we're going to start with a poll from the audience. Raise your hand if you're a founder or aspiring to be a founder. Okay, great. Raise your hand if you're a founder looking at an enterprise B2B company. You want to sell to companies, not a consumer. Okay, that's a good point. Raise your hand if you want to sell to the consumer, which is the end user. That's awesome. We have a good mix. Raise your hand if you have an AI twist in your product that you're offering, as expected. If you do, I think that would have been great. Okay, I'm going to run by and do a quick rapid fire. I'm just going to pick somebody here, and I want to hear what's your favorite AI model, who wants to go, and why.
Can we sign the NDA first? Okay, right now we're using the DECODE for, and we also could use cloud, so we do redundancy. We like to control why we like or why we're using it. We use both for contrasting. We work with cybersecurity, so we need to have a very trustful source of information. So we contrast them. But I wish there is one day a better model that we can just rely on one and don't need to be checking most, similar to perplexity, something like that. Thank you.
Anybody else wants to go? Cool.
you. I'm back more of a Llama person. I like the new Llama model because the Llama model, especially the Level 7B, will allow me to run some of the things on my devices, which protect the privacy of my data. And as a like a startup doing heavily on hardware, it is important that you have something in your on-device intelligence. And I think that's more important than the cloud one, in fact, in some scenario.
Thank you. All right, I'll take one more before we get into this topic, and I'll tell you why we did this. This is good work.
You're getting your steps in.
So I do agree that sometimes you have to even use, not even pick one, but even use multiple. But I'm using Falcon from the UAE, and because one of the products I have, it helps with policy and regulations, and Falcon is very good with Arabic. So when I go to regulations and policies using AI, Falcon was superior for me.
So all of these are such great perspectives, right? So AI is like, I think everywhere to this point, like where is not AI? So I think that's going to be the highlight. So what we are going to be doing now is hear from our panelists on how they are using AI in their workplace. So as you see, we have such diverse set of panelists from different industries, backgrounds. So let's hear from maybe, Bill, do you want to go and see, you work for a public university, CTO, so it's a pretty complex gig. How do you see yourself applying AI, or what's the pattern that you're seeing?
Okay, the way that we're thinking about it at Berkeley is there's three categories of use cases at a high level. So the defend use cases, extend, and upend. Upend is when you transform the whole industry. We're honestly not probably going to do that. Defend is what you're all using AI for, probably what I'm using it for, productivity. And that's, you have to defend, because if everyone starts using it and you don't, you're going to sort of fall behind. So to maintain your competitive advantage individually and also as an organization, you've got to support. You've got to get those tools out into everyone's hands for personal productivity, for department level stuff. The more interesting category for an enterprise is the extend one. So we have all these business processes. If you've been a student, you know it's not necessarily optimal, and there's like delays, and this person sends you to that person. So automation is not something that naturally matches in a place like Berkeley. So what we're looking for is what are the use cases where we can reduce pain. And really, I was actually at a UC-wide meeting, and that was the number one thing is this isn't really for the most of the people in the enterprise. They can play a role because this is not a technical problem fundamentally. The hardest part is what use cases are going to bring the most value. And do I have time to give a 20-second anecdote?
Sure.
This is from another university, brilliant use case on AI. They universities generate a lot of intellectual property, and when they deals with people and license that technology to them. We're terrible. We're terrible at collecting the money. We're terrible at remembering the deals we made. So a university, I won't name their name, had this problem, and they felt like they weren't capitalizing on this. They've been doing these agreements for 25 years. They hired a person. They're like, we don't have enough money to hire them for really more than a year. Maybe they can get through 3 years of agreements and see if we should be enforcing these better. The person said, oh, I'm going to use this new deal that we have with an AI provider. And they were able to go through 25 years of history and auto-generate collection letters and identify where they weren't enforcing it. And they generated $2.5 million of revenue. They began that collection of money within 6 months of them starting. And that money then partly is going back to reinvest in innovation around AI. So it's a sort of like trying to create a virtuous cycle. Thought that was really good.
Great, thanks, Bill. Jen, I want to go to you. You are such a big organization, lot of potential opportunities for AI. So tell us your perspectives on how your organization is applying AI.
Okay, maybe from my experience, to give you some indication how the big companies are trying to use AI. Like my campus, our campus in Paramount, our neighbors around, the same, it's big company, right? Long history, a lot of data, well-established process, right? Then this new tool coming. We try to figure out how to use that. I'll give you some examples how we use that. Like we have a lot of insight, internal tools for different purpose, planning, design, testing, operation. And usually those tools have very sophisticated UI for experts. And other people find it difficult. Like in my company, some tools maybe just 25 people are using it, even though 2,000 people want to use it. But so now this GenAI can help to convert just verbal, right? Just like chatbot type of interface, and to call those tools, to use that tool. And that's one use case. Another use case, as you know, that you use to write SQL, write code. That's very useful. I want to labor that. Then that's we also find that when those tools generate results, and we bring that result back to the GenAI. GenAI tools can construct, I think, a very meaningful reply to the users, to help to connect the dots, or help very clearly give an answer. That's also very, very helpful. That's basically I'm saying that we embedded the AI, GenAI, into our current workflow to make the workflow more, I think, user friendly and providing more clear answers.
Great, thank you. Jeremy, over to you.
Okay, so AI is really touching our company in more ways than maybe most, because not only do we use AI and have a lot of plans for using AI for enhancing our productivity, but our products are actually at the core of enabling AI, both in data centers and also on PCs for your local Lambda model or on your phone. And so we have to look at and really understand what is driving the AI infrastructure trends. And that gives us some insight into how to use it as a business as well. We've been using AI ML in our manufacturing of products for things like yield improvement or manufacturing efficiency improvement, scheduling, because when you run a fab, it's very complex, for many years. And now with generative AI, there's a whole host of new use cases that we're rolling out, a lot of which are in the POCs. So we do have a chatbot, for instance, that now offloads about 90% of the questions that used to go to IT, like how do I get this or where do I find that? Simple things. We also now use AI. We started POC on coach. This is, one interesting finding was that the tools really aren't where they need to be for us, at least. The number one use case from our engineers, they said that actually writing code is not good, but it's really good at writing comments. So that actually saved like 20% productivity for our software engineers. We also use AI in our sales pipeline to evaluate what's happening with customers. We're now using a tool that's an AI tool for generating marketing collateral. We use all of the Microsoft suite as well. And then one of the interesting ways that we're using AI is actually to feed all of our customer requirements into our requirements planning, which then goes all the way to the engineering development process.
Great, yeah, thank you. I just want to take a step back and connect to the original, the way we started this. Like, we did a poll, really understanding, like, what's your goal, who's using AI. The reason we did this and heard from the panelists is that this is an opportunity. The topic we're talking about is really laying the groundwork for tomorrow's innovation, and it starts within the company. So these are the folks who you're going to be selling to, who's going to be the decision makers. So it's super important to hear the perspectives on how they are applying, where could be some of the opportunities that you all can connect to really evolve your product. And that's why we thought it would be important to hear the perspectives from within the company, from the leaders here. All right. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit, and like there's a lot of entrepreneurs here in the room, so we want to hear the founders' perspectives from our experienced panelists. Jeremy, I'm going to start with you. Tell us more about, you talked about the startup experience that you've had. Can you share with the audience on what are some of the experiences and perspectives from your standpoint on the startup world?
Sure. So I came out to California right in the middle of the .com boom, which now the AI boom, it kind of reminds me in a way of that time. Hopefully there won't be as big of a bust, but I started working at AMD literally 2 weeks before the stock market blew up. So, my dreams were not quite realized, which was to work for 3 years, retire, and hang on the beach. I worked at AMD for 6 years. I got a lot of kind of big company experience, and then I did 3 startup companies over the course of 10 years, all in chips, memory-related semiconductors. The first of the companies had the best engineering team of all 3 companies, and it failed because we didn't have product market fit, and we weren't able to pivot when we developed a product into something that customers wanted in enough volume to sustain the business. So the company went under. Vinod Khosla was on our board of directors. So that gives you an idea. It was legit. The second company that I joined didn't have the best engineering team, but we had a really innovative new idea for a product. We put compression into storage. We were the first company that did that, and it really enhanced the experience for customers. We ended up selling that company at LSI. And then the third one was a startup, and in 2 years we ended up just raising an A round, built a product, and then effectively did a sale to Micron that I helped to engineer right when we were going to raise our B. Interestingly, Micron let me go at that point. Yeah, that's true. And what I'll say is it's hard doing startups. At that time that we did the third startup, the show Silicon Valley was on. Have any of you guys ever seen that show? Right? And it was like traumatizing for me to watch that because I was going through a lot of the same things that they were going through. No, I never created an app that was like hot dog or not hot dog. But I did try to raise money in Silicon Valley. And, it can be quite demoralizing the number of times that you either hear no or you just don't hear yes. I mean, oftentimes when my experience when I was out trying to raise capital, it was very interesting. Call me when you have a term sheet. I heard that like a million times. Everyone wanted to follow, but no one wanted to lead. And eventually, we did, fortunately, we were able to raise money, Kleiner Perkins, and actually from a Chinese bank. But, one of the really important things I think, if you're trying to raise money is to understand the thesis of the investor. What are they looking for in their portfolio? Don't waste your time trying to convince someone who only invests in software platforms to invest in your energy juice startup, right? Find the right investors for what you're trying to sell, and you'll have a much easier time. And don't worry about getting no's. Everyone gets no's. You have to fail 10 times to succeed. And so, I heard the last speaker talking about, consensus. And it's definitely true that, there's going to be a lot of naysayers. There's going to be a lot of people who don't believe in your vision, and your vision is probably wrong at first. But your conviction and your passion, that's what you can bring to the table. And if you're willing to pivot as you learn from customers and refine your idea, then you should be able to have success.
Love it. Yeah, this is awesome. Thanks, Jeremy. I want to go to Jin. So at AT&T, which is a large corporation, joined with team and engaged with many startups. Would love to hear a corporation's perspective on what are the things that they want to be looking at to involve themselves or collaborate with startups.
Yeah, like a company like AT&T, we are very capital intensive, meaning every year we spend a lot of money, like $20 billion to purchase a lot of stuff. Some companies can come in, help us improve our efficiency, it makes a lot of money. So every 2 weeks I meet with a startup. But to be honest with you, I don't want to go to many of those meetings. Because it's just coming saying we have this amazing technology and revolutionize your industry. You really improve your efficiency by 20%. Then we ask some question about specific how we industry works, right? What's our process? What's our tools? Then they don't really know, right? Then we lose interest very quickly, right? If you want to propose, if you feel like on a B2B as a business, you want to come into the big company, get support, I think you need to do some homework. I would suggest go to those industry conference, technical conference, because you can really hear a lot of talk about what's the real challenge we have in our daily job. And that's the thing.
Super insightful perspective here. So be out there, do your homework, know what you want, and then find it. Find that inspiration. Awesome. Bill, how do you see the startups emerging and going to market?
Okay, so I talked about my role as CTO. I'm also an advisor at Berkeley Tech. So I've advised a lot of startups, and I have maintained relationships with a bunch of them. I actually have startups. So I was founder of a couple different e-commerce companies and stuff in the dark ages. And so, you know, the number one piece of advice, I know this is right, is fall in love with the problem. I think it's listen to you. Fall in love with the problem, not the solution. What I see, so I'm sort of emblematic of Berkeley's a $3 billion enterprise. We've got about 60,000 people, 15,000 employees. A lot of ed tech companies come and want to sell me something, and they don't know enough about how things work to actually, at the point that they're at, be able to create something that I could have someone buy. Also, I'm not the buyer. So as a startup, in especially decentralized, many big companies are fairly decentralized. So you need to know who has the line authority to buy your thing and what are the constraints that they have, and really understand their pain points. So like people don't do enough research. They get an idea in their head and they think, I'm going to build this thing. It's this cool. I've been a student. I know how crappy this thing is. I can fix it. But until you really understand from the inside more, you won't have a champion. So to get your first couple of companies, to where I see the companies that don't kind of make it is they don't get traction. And people may like part of the idea, but there's barriers to adopting it. So if you can break through that and understand how to get your idea initially adopted, that's, I think that's the number one step. Because a lot of times people like us, we don't want to go to a meeting where we don't have to disappoint someone and be like, I can't buy this thing. But what I do love going to these meetings where people are actually just trying to understand how something can fit in, because then they can go and then figure out how to build it.
I remember reading Jeffrey Moore's Crossing the Chasm before I did any startups, and it was very helpful to come up with how you find that first customer.
Thank you, Bill. That was a fabulous perspective. I want to actually talk with you, Bill, around industry outlook, trends, and its opportunities.
Okay, so I'll start and I'll be a little concerned. We've all been talking about Gen AI a lot. And first of all, there's lots of AI, and I know you all know this, but like some of the most transformational AI may be the more traditional types of AI. So I've seen that at the university. But then I think also if you step back, all of tech has been having a moment for like a long time. And I think that there's you can see it in the polarization of our country. I've heard it described when I was actually in college. Paul Kennedy wrote The Rise and Fall of the Great Powers, talked about in the future, it's going to be all the symbolic analysts who figure stuff out. That's like lawyers, tech people, all the people who move information rather than atoms. So people that are doing the digital stuff, not the actual real world stuff. And I was at a sort of a meeting of some people my age, and they were talking about their kids, and they had, it was an Ivy League, and one guy's kid was a welder, my brother's a truck driver. Like, I'm noticing this pattern among these people who are ostensibly elites about their kids are going in a completely different direction. And then when you look in the country and you see a sort of divide between media elites and sort of other parts of the country, I wonder whether there's a huge opportunity for tech to find inroads into industries that have not typically had that. And I think we also carry a bit of bias about what industries are adopting tech and which aren't. Like farming is huge tech forward. Like there's a lot of this stuff that we may not know. So what I would encourage people, and I think the opportunity is we need to get out of our bubble and go explore entrepreneurial opportunities, we're all tilling the same ground. And I think then we're going to have 100 competing things that are pitching to one VC. Whereas if you go somewhere where there's not a lot of, I think that there's a lot of opportunity.
So I think the key insight is really like explore, just like get out of the bubble, look at other perspectives, see where the opportunities could be, where you can have.
Yeah, and find that connection between tech capabilities and places that maybe haven't not found that yet. And so that could be pulled to other markets that are not
Quite stable. Great, awesome. Jin, what do you think about the industry outlook and perspective?
Very good. And Gen AI is great, AI is great, we're continuing to use more and more of that. But a lot of companies have a lot of data, and the Gen AI is not that good with data, with numbers yet. So you're all entrepreneurs here. I hope somebody works in that domain. Because there's a lot of things. Every day we struggle with that, how to better understand and use it.
Okay, that's the investment thesis for people who are looking for it. If you want to be a startup, where should I spend my energy? There you go. Underlying data to be for the Gen AI to be working well. But that's super important, is what I'm hearing. Jeremy?
Okay, so I think we're right at the beginning of something super special that's gonna completely transform humanity. Guess who was formed after the dot-com crash? Google, Meta, Uber, Airbnb, Salesforce.com, Workday. Yeah, is that enough? After the dot-com crash, right? So, yeah, has NVIDIA exploded? Absolutely. There is so much incredible opportunity out there related to what the new foundational models can do and deliver to humanity. And I'll just talk about a few of the industries that I think will become trillion-dollar industries and disrupt a lot of what's out there right now that I'm most excited about. So, everyone knows autonomous driving. Obviously, you see, Tesla's all over it, but there's so many areas to truly enable autonomous driving. Yes, the vehicle, but we haven't set up our cities and our transportation network for autonomous vehicles. So that's one. Healthcare. I mean, from protein folding for drug creation to the clinical diagnosis. There's so many incredible opportunities in healthcare that AI can deliver. We don't have enough doctors. We spend 12% in this country of our GDP on healthcare. Think about how much money that is, and what AI can do to bring standardization and knowledge around the world to make people's lives better, extend lives, and improve outcomes. No doctor can read all the research. And to your healthcare. And then the third one, for sci-fi fans, because a lot of what we're seeing right now was predicted by Asimov. You should go back and read his books. But I still think robotics are going to be a big part of the future. Today, you see a lot of robotics happening that's driven by AI in manufacturing. I still think there's a lot of opportunities for expansion in humanoid type of robotics, whether it's we have aging populations around the world, home healthcare, security. How many people can't go on vacation because you don't want to watch your pets? There's so many opportunities out there. There's so many applications when it comes to generative AI. There's going to be so many unicorn companies that start, and a lot of them are going to happen in Silicon Valley and Berkeley and Stanford. It's kind of a race. So we'll see who wins that race. But a lot of opportunity out there, and I encourage everyone to think about the opportunities 5 or 10 years in the future, and don't focus on what's been missed, but what's possible.
Love it. Thank you. I think that kind of brings us to the end of what we wanted to share as panelists. I want to give an opportunity to the audience to ask any questions to these wonderful people. So from them.
I have just more of a question for Jeremy. I don't do silicon startup. Silicon is capital intensive. How does that work in startup scale?
Yeah, it's a real challenge compared to what VCs like to invest in because it's harder to it depends on what your silicon product is. I mean, you definitely want to have like a pretty strong support from lead customers. I see a lot of silicon startups get a lot of corporate venture support as opposed to traditional VC support. And I think that could be very helpful. If you look now, there's a lot of people around the world that want to invest in silicon. I was actually in Dubai. Someone was talking about the UAE model. I was in Dubai just a couple of weeks ago. I mean, the sovereign wealth funds around the world that want to invest in silicon are incredible. And so, you know, you might need to go beyond your traditional VC funding, but think about what you can deliver strategically to people with semiconductors, because it's a huge strategic area of the economy that a lot of people will invest in from that angle. It's harder to go non-linear with semiconductors. It takes longer and it's more capital and built-in software so that you can tweak and take out some super expensive.
Just being as a whole, we tackle automation, enterprise automation. A little bit, but also dealing with legacy and to the resume with a lot. Focusing on legacy is developing.
Yeah, we have a lot of legacy systems to be modernized. That's actually, we have like the last 5 years. A lot of effort into that. We get outside help. We are using some of the very popular software from the daily software companies. And I think that we still need maintain those systems, but really need some way. I think that use new software to replace the old software, like use more cloud-based native software to replace the old legacy software. That's like a journey we're still in the middle. I think there's still a lot of
People are still using their cultural
We were just talking before the session about, I took a photo of these guys who were ICE delivery people wearing little suits and standing in front of their trucks in the 1920s. And when I gave a talk on cloud computing, I ended up researching the photo and I learned that the company was still in business in 2015. They were taken by private equity in 2007. So a lot of things, that's a niche. You know, you might have a niche there. And one thing that might be useful is to understand the scale of the problem, work with, like try to get inroads in professional services companies because you get help. So you're probably not talking to the software company directly. Find like a Deloitte, places like that as a channel, and then you'll figure out the scale of it.
I think we are at time. But yeah, connect us with on LinkedIn if you want to talk further. But really enjoyed sharing our perspective. Thank you so much for being part of the